What's going on, everybody? I wanted to do a video instead of just a regular post because this is a topic that really is near and dear to my heart because it puts me in such a vulnerable spot. But it's so important. It's just the stupid scale, like how it's defining my progress, and it's really like very frustrating because I do coach other people, and I always tell them that the scale weight is not the true dictator of how much you're progressing in your journey. There's other ways to measure your progress, but yet I find myself, no matter what phase I'm in, building, improving contest preps, it really doesn't matter. I get so obsessed about the scale, and it literally drives me nuts because I know it's an issue, and yet I find myself continually struggling to figure out how to improve upon that and really just build that relationship in a healthy manner. Just to give you some background, back in high school, I grew up in Hawaii. Food was everything. I mean, it's in the culture. Weight isn't necessarily something that you worry about. Like, I just didn't care. It wasn't something that I didn't weigh myself regularly. It wasn't something that was ever really brought up. And I could eat pretty much anything I wanted. It didn't do anything to me. I was in, ROTC. I did karate. I was active, but I wasn't like lifting weights. I wasn't worried about, what my physique really looked like. I mean, I really didn't care so much. And it wasn't until I graduated in '99 that we moved out to Washington. I decided, hey, I'm gonna start working out, and really focus on putting on some muscle. And the funny thing is that I associated gaining weight on the scale as putting on muscle. And of course, those are two different things when you think about it. It's not just about how much weight you're gaining, it's what type of weight are you gaining and how does your physique look, what kind of other measurements are you getting? Fat, or are you really like building a good amount of muscle? And I just really didn't have the tools, or I just didn't know of the tools at the time outside of just the scale weight. Yeah, I gained weight, but really I just don't know how much of it was actually muscle. And so it wasn't that I felt like I was gaining a lot of fat. It's just I just didn't know. I really didn't have a strong background on what to really identify with. And so weight was a huge contributor for my success in my eyes. And so, even fast forward to college, when I was in college for 2003 to 2006, I still associated the weight as something that was the true measure, like, of success. So if I gained weight, lifting weights and eating a lot, I was like, oh crap, like I gotta lose weight now because I'm getting fat. So I'm gonna lose all this weight that I supposedly worked really hard to get. I'm just going to drop it all and go back to ground zero. Like, and now looking back, it just doesn't make any sense. But while I was doing it, it made sense to me. Like, and so that already had set me up, with putting so much emphasis on the scale and, the frustrations that come through just putting it all in one basket of success. Like, my success is based around how much I weigh, and this is how much I'm worth, and it sucks because, you add fuel to the fire when you start trying to compete in bodybuilding or even powerlifting. Like, back in 2009, I graduated in 2006. I became a diet tech at a hospital. I started learning more about nutrition, different diet protocols for different health issues. And, even with that information and just understanding, I still had this real issue with the scale. And in 2009, I decided to do a 12-week transformation or challenge at my gym. And it was like percentage of weight loss wins, and we're gonna take before and after photos. We're gonna see how you improve your physique. But I had this mentality that I was like, I gotta get the biggest percentage of weight loss. I gotta win this. Like, there's just no way. Like, I need to lose X amount of weight to make that happen. I went from 173 pounds down to about 136, I believe. It was pretty ridiculous. In 12 weeks, I seriously cardio out the yin yang out of myself to get there. And once again, disassociation with food, bad relationship with food, bad relationship with the scale. I was so obsessed with the scale. And once again, like that burned myself out. And you would think after burning yourself out like that and just going through binges and going through this rocky relationship with food and how you weigh and how you view yourself body image wise, that you would start learning. And you're like, okay, I get it. Like I should be a little bit more conscientious of what I'm doing and really try to do things a little differently. Wrong. So back in 2012, I decided, hey, I'm going to compete in bodybuilding. And luckily, I did find natural organizations, which I had like no idea that existed. So luckily, I started watching bodybuilding.com videos for like Lane Norton back in the day. And I was like, whoa, there's actually natural competitions and there's organizations. That sounds legit. There's no way I can get jacked like the guys in Flex magazine and Muscle and Fitness. So the good thing is I did find natural organizations to compete with. The bad thing is I still had like no idea like what I was doing, and I once again fell into the trap of focusing so much on the freaking weight. And there is no weight classes, mind you. There are no weight classes in the organizations that I began competing in. So there was like the novice class and then there was the open class, and it was done by height. Now there are like some where you do have to be a certain weight, of course, and even like NPC there are weight classes, but I was just like, I gotta be this certain weight. Like I drove myself into the ground trying to chase a weight on the scale versus chasing the physique that I wanted. And it's so funny because five seasons later, I'm still struggling with that stupid scale and having that unhealthy relationship with how I view myself. Not necessarily with body image. Like I've been able to really overcome what I look like in contest preps to transitioning off of it and truly in an improvement phase, and how I'm truly happy in those. But for some reason, the scale continues to haunt me, and it really drives me up the wall because I know it's an issue and I can't figure out how to not make it an issue. And yes, I can create other ways or other avenues to see my progress, which I'm doing, which I'm tracking all my training sessions. I'm doing, this is how I base my next week's training. I take waist and hip measurements. I take body, physique update photos. I do all these things, yet I still find myself being obsessed with the scale weight. And it's interesting because every person is different. This is what I've had to come to realize, is that every person is different, and how they associate themselves with different measurements is going to be different, and how you're going to progress into a more healthier mindset is going to be dependent on the person's background and what they're currently doing. But I would say a big majority of it is just like their history. And for my history, weight on the scale, like these last almost like 20 years of, since 1999, is like weight on the scale. And even with this powerlifting meet that I have coming up in a week and a half on the 24th of February, I'm excited about, but I literally, I was 178, 177, 178 pounds, and I wanted to compete in the 165.2 class, the 75 kgs. And I had a good game plan, about 11 weeks out, whittle down, not make any huge adjustments cut huge amounts of water to get there. My goal was to get to about 167 and hover there and be able to cut the rest in water. I mean, that's literally nothing. I can easily do that. But the problem is that I reached 167 pounds a few weeks ago, and I am currently 163.2 pounds this morning. And this is like me doing refeeds. I'm not doing any cardio, but I am doing double refeeds a week, and I'm still losing weight. And the funny thing is, when I get on that scale and it tells me that I'm 163.2 or whatever the scale is, I'm like happy. And I'm like, why? Why am I happy? Because I have this real obsession about the scale. And this isn't hard for me to admit. It just drives me up the wall that I still continue to struggle with how the scale dictates my success in my mind. And I'm like, at this point, like, why am I 163.2 when that's like 2 pounds underneath the weight class? And it just doesn't make sense. I just don't get it. And so it's so hard for me to change that mentality. But my plan is that I really need to find some other measurements of success. I need to just throw away the scale, I think, at this point, and just like not worry about it. And just really trying to figure out other ways to kind of put this past me. And this is like seriously like one of the hardest things is figuring out what to do once you figure it out, like once you figure out what the issue is. But it might be something that I struggle with for the rest of my life. I really don't know. I really hope not. But the biggest thing is it's just absolutely frustrating that I put so much so much time and effort and thought into what I weigh that it's almost taking away from what I really want to accomplish. And my goal is to be as strong as heck come meet day and be able to progress better than what I did before. And if I'm so worried about the weight, I'm going to come in at like 160 and I'm not going to be able to pull anything, and it's going to drive me nuts, and that's going to be even worse. I'm going to be so ticked off. But it's just interesting that this continues to be an issue for me, something that I want to work on. And I really hope that this helps other people. I don't know. I mean, hopefully people, feel the same way or have the same, they struggle with this and they can associate with this. But what I can say is that it's going to be different for every single person on how they came to this obsession about the scale and how it dictates all your success just based off of what that blasted number says. But it's also going to be individualized on what is going to allow you to move past that. And that's me. Like, I'm in process of figuring that out. I think with each season, each chapter, I've been able to learn a little bit more on how I can become better. But I will say that the scale weight is like one of my biggest kryptonites. It's one of the biggest things that I really do need to work on and focus on. But I just wanted to do a video like this. I wanted to keep it 100 because this is what I do. Like, I really want to show like the big overall picture of what people go through. Like, it's not all lollipops and gumdrops like social media tends to portray, is that there are no perfect little worlds that people live in. People struggle. People people have these feelings of inadequacies and these challenges. But I wanted to make sure like people know that yes, it's not just I coach people, and like every prep is perfect, and every phase of my programming is amazing. No, I struggle quite a bit, and this is one of my biggest struggles. And so hopefully this does help, at least help other people that are in the same boat, and hopefully that you can find some value in knowing that you're not alone, and that there are people out there that you may think have it all together, or like it just appears that they never struggle with anything, but everybody struggles with something, and hopefully we can kind of learn together. But I'll look forward to kind of following up, especially after this meet, and figure out what my next steps are to gain that true relationship, that healthier relationship with the scale, and figuring out other ways to show my progression in my journey. So I appreciate you guys watching. This is like a longer video, but I appreciate you folks. If there's any like questions, of course, you can always like message me. You can DM me, at my email as well. But outside of that, hopefully this is helpful. Thanks for watching.